What is up, guys? It is Styx here, and today I'm going to be going over another PvP build, this one specifically focusing on my hunters out there, those who might not like the stasis one that I put out recently. This is going to be another one that is focused very much on a tactic that annoys your opponents quite a lot, but can also be very effective and helpful in securing those kills in games like Trials, Comp, 66 Iron Banner, that kind of stuff. Going right into the subclass, we are using Threadrunner, the strand subclass for hunters. We'll be rolling with the Gambler's Dodge to recharge her melee ability after dodging near an enemy, Strafe Jump for the directional control, and Threaded Spike is the only melee that you have access to as a strand hunter. But a lot of people don't really understand how it works, at least from what I've seen, which is once they throw the dart, it damages and severs, and the dart returns to you once it's done, returning melee energy for each target you hit with it. However, a lot of people don't press the melee button again right as it gets back to them to catch it, because that increases the amount of energy you get, which allows you to really throw this spike very frequently compared to a lot of other ranged melees. And so I figured I would let y'all know about that. Now, the Threadling Grenade is what I'm going to be going with, as confusing as that might be, as this, once you throw it out, it basically throws out three little threadlings that are going to chase around your opponents and do a little bit of damage. It's not as much anymore, but it does stack up, trust me. I'm going to be combining that with Widow's Silk for an additional grenade charge, and Threaded Spectre. Activating your class ability leaves behind a decoy woven from strand matter. After taking significant damage or when combatants approach, the decoy will detonate, dealing damage and releasing threadlings that seek out and attack nearby foes. I personally might run around a corner and pop this because a lot of the time they'll shoot at you and they'll trigger it, or I will use it and then I will shoot it to trigger the threadlings and combine it with the Threadling Grenade, which is a good amount to shut down someone who's trying to push you, or if you're trying to push on someone else who maybe the team is like grouping up. The Threadlings do a little explosion AoE, so they will hit multiple people at once if, say, like they're all hiding behind a barricade or in a rift. For the Fragments, I'm going to begin with Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates grenade energy. Very simple. Thread of Continuity is very useful for increasing the sever effects from your melee, as well as some of the unravel that can come from your general abilities. Thread of Evolution. Threadlings travel farther and deal additional damage, plus a +10 to intellect, which is not the best stat in the world, but it's certainly nice. Thread of Ascent. Activating your grenade ability reloads your equipped weapon and grants bonus airborne effectiveness and handling for a short duration, plus a +10 mobility. That's extremely useful for just playing the game. It makes your movements very fluid and allows you to combine your abilities with one another. Now, stat-wise, I'm rocking 100 mobility and 100 recovery and tier 2 resilience. Ideally, I would want to have tier 3 resilience in addition to the 2 100s. However, I would say this is also a very good setup. It's already really difficult to stat out hunters with everything you want just because of how necessary mobility is for them, despite not being an outside of that useful stat. For your secondary stats, I am going to recommend that you prioritize discipline due to Gambler's Dodge combined with the melee energy you get back on your Threaded Spike. The best bet is going to be wanting to spam that grenade. You will notice that this build has a max intellect instead of a max discipline. That is just because of how my gear rolls instead of necessarily me wanting that, so do keep that in mind. Now, onto the exotic armor piece. Very important here. I believe there are two options for this. That option is going to depend on your personal comfort as a player, the types of things you like to run, as well as what you are expecting and wanting to get out of this build. For me, I like to use Frostees on this build. I like to use it because sprinting gives energy, which allows me to get my cooldowns more frequently, and dodging speeds up my sprint. I like moving around really quickly. It's really nice. Plus, it's a neutral game exotic that I don't really have to think about too much. I also will completely understand and endorse the 6th Coyote, which gives you a second dodge charge to put down more threaded specters. This is because more threaded specters means more threadlings, more distraction, more cover, because they will shoot the specter and not you. So there are a lot of uses for that second dodge charge. However, you don't get the ability back faster. You don't get a double dodge charge rate. you just get 2 dodges. And a lot of the time, I'm gonna be honest, when I see people using something like 6 Coyote, they don't really stack up double dodges. They just use the first dodge, and at that point, you're not really getting much use out of the 6th Coyote except for that little extra bit of energy you're getting. In which case, you might as well use Frostees because it'll just let you get all of your abilities faster, not just your dodge. So for that, I would say Frostees is probably the better option. Or if you really don't care about your abilities, you can run Snoppies. It's the classic. A lot of people love it. Why not? Now, onto my odds. They're going to be here if you need the screenshot or something, but to break it down a bit, I run targeting on my helmet, I run 2 dexterity mods and fastball on my gauntlets, I run unflinching on my chest piece, I run double absolution on my legs, and on my cloak, I run double distribution and bomber. For weapons, I'm going to recommend a strand weapon such as Belsarius-D or Quicksilver Storm. This is because these will proc a lot of the abilities that you have, and because they are strand, they match your subclass very well. And Quicksilver Storm specifically is really nice in the extent that final blows with grenades from this weapon will also create tangle. It's not just your abilities. So that can be really nice. And I pair that with either occluded finality, I personally like under pressure opening shot. I also completely understand a snapshot opening shot roll. Those are the 2 bests in my opinion. And Cloudstrike, which Cloudstrike is something I put on if I notice the enemy team is really liking to huddle together because you can blast them. So yeah, there aren't any artifact mods that really mess with this build at all. So feel free to run it as you wish. And I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, like, comment, subscribe, peace.